It's time for This Week in Location-Based Marketing, episode number 26. We are recording this on Saturday, May 21st, 2011. My name is Rob Woodbridge from Untether.tv, one of your hosts, and as always with me from Toronto, Ontario, Canada,
Asif Khan from the Location-Based Marketing Association.
Asif, I'm just going to remind everybody what they're here for. This is that podcast or the video podcast that you come to rely on every week now for 26 consecutive weeks about what is important to you in the location-based marketing environment. And, we cover stories as wide-ranging, and we're going to see some great examples of it today. We're covering some car news, Ford Sync. We're going to cover a little bit about Facebook Places, Starwood and Foursquare, Google News, bringing it local to you, and Yahoo, which I made a quip before we went live that I thought I didn't even know that Yahoo was still in business. But hey, Yahoo's still in business, and a few great resources. We're going to talk about the LinkedIn IPO and some ComScore data. That is as varied as it goes, I think, from Yahoo to Ford. But first, Asif, tell us about the Location-Based Marketing Association event that went down last Wednesday.
Yeah, so we had our latest chapter event this past Wednesday here in Toronto, where I am, and another good event, a little bit different. It was focused on kind of looking at the differences between GPS, Wi-Fi, in-store location technologies, geofencing type technology. So the contrast between the different location determinant technologies, and we had a really good keynote from a company called Wi-Fair, and that was had a lot of people talking, and then moved into to a panel discussion as well that carried on that. So all in all, a good event. Very pleased with it, and gearing up for our official launch this coming week in Amsterdam, our European launch. So. Have an amazing panel put together for that. We've got Blast Radius, which is the agency for Starbucks over in Europe. Yep. We've got TomTom. We've got Layer. We've got it's going to be a killer event. So
you got Layer in there and Blast Radius. Now Blast Radius, I know very well. A good friend of mine actually works for them as a creative director. But who's going to be there from Layer? I love that company.
Yeah, Layer's sending one of their marketing folks. It's I actually just changed yesterday, so the name escapes me. They subbed out the speaker on me. So
this is good because so when's the launch in Amsterdam? Tuesday?
On Wednesday.
Wednesday, and
Bernice Tim.
Okay,
I just did. Yeah, Bernice Tim.
Well, I mean, I love Layer. I had a chance to sit down with the CEO and do an Untethered session, and so impressed. I think he was wondering the whole time. He said, "How did I get on this show? How did I get on this show? Who watches it? Just your mother, Rob? That's it?"
Yeah.
Yeah, he was shocked. It happened to me with Greg Grunberg from Heroes as well. He's like, "You're gonna fire your publicist right after this, aren't you?" He's like, "Yep, pretty much."
Right. And there's a bit of Canadian connection too, because we're hoping Stefan Haas will be able to come out. So Stefan used to run TBWA in Vancouver, which just shut down a few weeks ago, and is now the new head of Blast Radius in Amsterdam. So we'll see whether he's able to make it out.
Well, it sounds like a great event. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to be there.
Sorry, Rob.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into this. We expect a full report, and when you get back for our next week's episode. But dive right into the news that happened this past week. What we're about to see, I think, is obviously the appification of the automobile. And I can't tell you how much envy I have for people I see driving around in Ford automobiles these days with the Ford Sync. I don't care about the car itself. That technology is incredible, and if I hear Leo Laporte go on about it as much as all I want is a Ford car now. I mean, I'll trade in my Mazda in a second for anything with Ford Sync.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable. I was actually when I was in San Fran a few weeks ago. I was riding to a social event in a local friend of mine's car, and he's got a brand new Ford hybrid.
Yes.
With this sync system in it, and it was just it was a good ride, but the technology, it's pretty amazing. So the story this week is there's an iPhone app out there called Allergy Alert. Been out there for a while. Obviously it lets you know pollen counts and all that kind of stuff when for those who suffer from allergies, and effectively what Ford's looking at is incorporating the kind of the feed coming from Allergy Alert into the sync system. And so the thought process here is not just as sync, be your navigation tool and feed your music to you and hook up with your iPod or your, what used to be your Zune, I guess, back in Microsoft days, since this is still Microsoft technology. But the really neat thing here is that they're kind of painting a picture for the future of the car. And actually, funny, a few weeks ago when I was at ICA's Future Flash event, I talked about the ability of location-based ads being delivered into your car, because all of the new devices now, all of the new cars, now are coming in the next year or 2 years from now, all Wi-Fi enabled.
Yep.
And so what you're going to see is that ability to not just go outbound from the car and connect to websites and do other things, but inbound have ads be delivered to you. And so I see very soon the idea of your windshield being a screen and augmented reality being popped, ads being popped into that windshield, and a number of things going on. And obviously Google's been experimenting with the driverless car and things like that. So, anyways. Long-winded way to say what Ford's talking about with Sync here is feeding health information, allergy information in through the Sync system, and then using that information to help find the healthiest route that you should take. So in terms of tell your car how you're feeling, whether you need more allergy medicine, and if you're close to a pharmacist, all this kind of stuff. So kind of bringing the health element of the individual and the folks that are in that vehicle, and marrying that up with allergy information and other things that are going on.
I mean, it's pretty amazing, because I think that what this means is that I'm desperately trying to find this. I wrote an article, I wrote a letter to the editor of Internet World magazine. Remember back in the days in the Internet World magazine? It was a print publication back in the late 90s. I wish I had it prepared or synced up, because it was about the future of the car. And what they were talking about is, why would anybody in their right mind want internet in their car? All right, this was the gist of this article in 1997, 98. And I remember writing them saying, are you kidding? Like, this is going to be the greatest thing that ever happens to the automobile. It's going to make it a personal entertainment system. And I can't imagine how great it's going to be to purchase movie tickets for my car on the way to the theater, so I don't have to stand in line. And,
no question, no question. I mean, it's absolutely, we're really close to it now. We're not that far away. Like I said, I mean, Chevy, Ford, all these guys have announced Wi-Fi and the next model year of their cars. So we're there. It's just now, what do we do with this functionality, and how far do we go on services?
One of the companies that it's very well suited for here, like. So this is just a perfect example. Plug and play, get apps running on this. There's going to be a huge ecosystem for car apps, obviously, at some point, whether they're apps or just enhancements by the device. But RIM, oddly enough, when they bought QNX, the operating system company that now powers the Playbook, QNX has worked. I think it's just with Chevy. Extensively to do kind of a Ford Sync kind of thing with Chevy. Oh no,
right.
I don't know if it's Chevy. Anyway, whatever it was, is that these guys have really, they are perfectly suited, because they've been working on this for quite some time. And I think that RIM really has a good opportunity to own this, another piece of this market like Ford Sync does with Microsoft. I just think that this is going to be a good enhancement for RIM. Now I'm looking.
Yeah, no, I think so. But anyways, that ability to know where that vehicle is, obviously from a navigation perspective, the location elements of that married up with all kinds of data, all kinds of content, and in this particular case, bringing the health side of the picture to the puzzle. So it's I love it. I think it's really cool, and obviously Sync is it's awesome. It's just awesome.
It's it's Microsoft. I can't believe anyway. So Ford Sync, you're going to get your allergy reports. Pretty soon you're going to be able to get everything reports. And we look forward to the day where it actually can determine whether or not you've had a couple of too many drinks, and it'll just disable the car entirely, because that's not too far around the corner.
Sounds good.
So obviously Facebook came out with some adjustments to Facebook Places last week as well. long overdue, I think. They kind of opened it up, didn't they, to the general population in the States when it came to businesses being able to interact with this.
Yeah.
And kind of eliminated a lot of confusion, I think.
Yeah, I think, for the most part, Facebook's been very, very slow in rolling this out. I mean, they've been in beta, forever it seems, on places and deals for that matter.
Yep.
So yes, they've opened it up a little bit. I mean, they launched this back in August, and so it's taken until now to kind of tweak and kind of start to release. But one of the key things here is that they've allowed businesses to merge their company pages with the listings of the physical addresses in the system. And so what it means is before you had to go and manually merge all that information together. So now it's all automated and just so much easier for the business owner, right? So you just go in there, you claim your thing, it sucks in the location, address, and business listing information, hooks it up with your place page, and away you go. Simple.
That's great. I mean, maybe it took them a long time to just figure out what it is that they needed to do with this, because it just seemed to be a lot confusing. There were people who had a places, basically they set up Facebook Places and then kind of abandoned Facebook Places and brought it over to their company Facebook page, and now this just kind of simplifies everything and it brings it all under one umbrella. Yeah,
the one piece that's still missing, I think, is that the old Facebook used to have, well, still has Facebook groups.
Yep.
The group pages, and there's no way to convert a group to a Facebook company page. That functionality doesn't exist. You have to go and can everybody off that group and tell them that take a hike and then go set up a place page now.
Well, yeah, that's brutal. Yeah,
that's still a problem.
Yeah, it definitely is. Well, I mean, I think that kind of mixed of this is that certainly Facebook in their slowness has allowed other competitors to kind of gain a lot of momentum, but it's Facebook. I mean, face it.
It's Facebook. Yeah.
They just turn a little switch on in the top right corner of your Facebook Places page or your Facebook company page, and it's enabled, right? And it's enabled for how many businesses around the world, and how many consumers around the world,
right?
Kind of says, okay, well, they can take as much time as they need because as soon as they turn it on, it's pretty much lights out for a lot of the competition. So.
Anyhow, I mean, just this little piece it just streamlines and makes it so much easier for the business owner. So
and even people who don't want it, it's there, right? So they're part of it.
Should have been there 3-4 months ago, but hey,
I know.
At least it's there now.
Facebook, slow to the punch. It's funny, eh? But slow to the prom, but will certainly win the dance competition is what I'll say. That's a terrible analogy. Wow, shouldn't have had those drinks before this, right? Well, speaking of places, the Starwood Group runs a bunch of hotels, big hotels, partners with Foursquare to dole out some rewards for checking into their places.
Yeah, I actually really like this partnership, and I like it because one of the things that came up at our event earlier this week in the discussion with some of the agencies that were in the room that represent big retailers, big brands, kept saying, why would we do this stuff? Why would our clients do this stuff? There's no such thing.
Love that question.
There's no such thing as brand loyalty. Why do we need to discount, and give away 50% of our margin to Groupon? All the stuff that you hear about. But to hear it in a room directly from some of the big agencies representing some pretty big brands, what it hammered home to me was, and we're seeing evidence of this now, is the return of loyalty, the return of customer loyalty.
Yeah.
And so, we saw that a little bit with Level Up from Scavenger, kind of bringing back, it's not everybody gets the same deal. It's the loyal customers get a better deal. So the Groupon thing isn't working so well. And I think this Starwood Foursquare thing is an example of that. So what Starwood has said is, we have a loyalty program. We have our SPG preferred guest program. We've got lots of people on this program, been there forever. These are our regulars that come and stay with us all the time, and we want to reward them further. and it's not just for checking in. This is the interesting thing. So yeah, of course you can check in on Foursquare and you get extra Starwood, points.
Yep.
But I think one of the interesting things here is that they're trying to make this a little bit fun as well. So you get points, you get, extra points if you check in between now and the end of July, I believe it is. But they also have a mayorship thing.
Yeah.
So, we thought the mayor thing was dead. But the interesting thing about this mayor thing is it's a mayorship across the entire Starwood network. It's not,
one location.
A mayor for this one location and a mayor for that location. It's the SPG mayor, okay, the Starwood Preferred Guest mayor. And whoever gets this, okay, the mayor is going to be interviewed, showcased on SPG specials, okay, like on their their internal television network and stuff like that. The mayor is going to give travel tips, all this kind of stuff, right? Like it's really interesting on the Foursquare tips page. So they're actually making this mayorship something that you might want to actually get,
And then the movie comes out, and it's going to be, up in the air sequel about SPG, and it's going to be about a guy who's checked into so many hotels he doesn't have a house or a family or a home anymore. That's ultimately what it is. Well, I think
the other thing too that I saw in the article that when I read this earlier is most SPG members are in that kind of older demographic.
Yeah.
And yet most of, as we know, most Foursquare users are in that younger demographic. So it'll be interesting to see whether this helps them come downstream a little bit. I don't know. But I like
interesting. Like one check-in wins. Right? What's this? And it was an accident, right? I didn't know what I was doing. I just checked in here. I don't know what it was. Yeah, I joke, but it's a... my only question there, and I found an article about this that brought it up, and it's a very good question. Jeff Lewis over at Top Guest has created an entire company around check-in rewards to hotels, and basically it's tied to your reward system that if you are a Starwood preferred guest or whatever, Hilton points or whatever it is, you check in and you get those points or air miles or whatever it is. It just seems odd that these guys Starwood just went exclusively with Foursquare. Is that I don't know if that's a good decision or not. I think that what they're doing is good, but I wonder if what they're doing with just Foursquare is good or not. I don't know.
Yeah. So here's my take on that. I think if you're an early adopter of check-in tools, like you and I, and you travel a lot and you stay at multiple brand of hotels, Top Guest is a good solution for you.
Yeah,
that's what I would say. If you're not, and better yet, if you're Starwood, okay, and you're looking at who your SPG members are, and you're trying to change the profile of that, then the argument's going to go: how many users does Foursquare have versus how many users does Top Guest have?
Yeah,
right. That's really what they're looking at.
But I mean, if you check in with any of Foursquare, I mean, Top Guest does Foursquare, Gowalla, Yelp. It does all the check-in services, and then it just automatically affixes your appropriate points, so your Starwood points.
Yeah, sure. So it's not a pure user discussion, but my point is that I think what they're saying is look, this fits with our brand somehow.
Yeah.
And we still want to control it. Well,
and it's better news, I think, right?
Yeah.
Certainly, it's something that Foursquare is going to promote, and I don't think you could do SWG mayor,
SPG mayor.
Yeah. I don't think you could do that with it. But shout out to Jeff Lewis, because I think that he was onto something when obviously with Top Guest, and it was a featured product of ours way back in I think episode 1 or 2. So so once you've checked in to your hotel. So you're kicking back and you pull up your device and you do a little search about what's around you. Up comes Google News near you. Like this is something that should have been done, I think, a long time ago. Location-aware news.
Yeah, I mean, this is a no-brainer to me. Again, like I don't understand why we haven't had local news. Since the beginning of time. Like I mean, we have, but in the world of online news, that we all consume today. It should be local, and I had this conversation actually a couple of weeks ago with one of the guys from the Globe and Mail here in Canada, you know, like one of their senior VPs. And I said to him, I said, look, you got your new iPad app, you got your this, your that, your whatever. You're a national newspaper,
Yep.
okay? And I'm in Montreal or I'm in Vancouver and I'm reading the Globe and Mail on the iPad app. Why are you not delivering to me or prioritizing the local news stories in Vancouver?
Yeah.
You know, pushing that to me first, and then let me get into the national news. Like, I don't understand why you're not doing that. And I'm not meaning to pick on the Globe and Mail. This is like, people aren't, you know, the Times, these guys, you know, like, they haven't been doing it.
Yeah.
And so this is what Google's trying to do here. This is what News Near You is. And there's others. There's the Times did try with, I think they had something called The Local. Actually, it was, of all names, it was called The Local, I think. But yeah, it's should have been doing this a while ago.
Well, you know, I like it, and I think a lot of people can learn from this. I don't know what it does to the local newspapers. You know, in every city they have maybe a local business newspaper along with the major
Yep.
publications, or even the community newspapers. And I think that if Google does a good enough job of this, it could really hurt those guys. But you know what, I think that there's always going to be a clientele for, you know, your basically your neighborhood reports, and it's not going to hurt those. But maybe it'll have an impact on the business coverage. You know, for those local rags, you know, maybe there's an impact, but I like this. I think companies like Zeit and Flipboard have a huge opportunity to do this as well, which is to feature this kind of local first news, and then allow you to pull back and see what from a national or an international scale.
Exactly.
I just like that. I think it's great. And Google,
It just makes sense,
good on Google,
right?
as usual. It's probably in beta. It's going to be in beta, just like Facebook.
And, you know, and for me, you know, like, so here's an interesting thing. Like, I mean, like, you know, think about sports, right? And even scores and things like that. Yeah, you know, like, I'm in Toronto. I pull up the news on there. I want to see, you know, what are the Blue Jays doing right now? I don't want to see, you know, that the Yankees lost to the Mets again.
No, you don't want to see that ever. ever. Yeah,
I mean, I do. I'm interested because ultimately, after I figure out what the Blue Jays are doing, I want to see where they are in the standings.
Yep.
But because I watch the scoreboard the same as everybody else. But I first want to see my own team.
Yep. It just makes sense. You know, as you said, I don't know what's taking so long, but now that it's out there, maybe other companies will pull that. You know, one of the things that I notice even with my local newspaper is that they do not have a lot of local content unless it's in the city page, right? So local business, right. They might cover local sports, but everything else is syndicated nationally, and you know, so maybe this is a wake up call for those guys as well. So Google News Near You, and that's available now. Do a search and you'll find it.
U.S. only, though.
U.S. only, yeah, of course.
U.S. only, and iPhone and Android only.
Yeah. What else is? Oh, BlackBerry. Yeah.
Oh yeah. BlackBerry.
What doesn't? So Google News Near You finally comes out. We'll wait on the Canadian version. I think that really dovetails really well into what Yahoo has done with Mixpo and around contextual video banner ads, right? So this is something that is you know, maybe not so unique. I think that during the web days, everybody was. You know, the arms were up in air about cookies and tracking and relevant ad placement and banner ads, and this is really that announcement, but video banner ads, isn't it?
Yeah, it's video banner ads, but the key to this is and we should point out this has nothing to do with mobile. This is online. Yeah. You know, you're sitting at home on your laptop or on your desktop, and and a banner ad pops up on the screen. And so Yahoo's basically delivering video banner ads, but the ads are contextual and based on location and age and gender and behavior and a whole bunch of other things. But one of the key things here is location. And we've seen this is not the first time Yahoo's done this, by the way. They've done it with non-video banner ads. But, I mean, basically, through, the browser now, most browsers have the ability to look at location.
Yep.
And HTML5 has a lot of things around location. And so I think, we're at that point now where we can start to target the banner ad, and not everybody sees the same banner ad. Not everybody sees the same video banner ad. It's truly based on and localized to where I am as a viewer, as the consumer, and other demographic profiling data that you have on me. Again, it's about value and relevance. I talk about it all the time. It's relevant to me, right? Make it relevant to me. Otherwise, why am I going to click on it?
I don't care. The only ad that's ever really made, the only video banner ad that's ever grabbed my attention was a Future Shop ad where this guy was, he was in the screen. He was basically in the video, and all you heard was he was knocking on the window of of the screen. It was like, and then he just said, "Turn on the volume," right? It was actually very well done. I don't know if you remember this ad, but again, that kind of innovation doesn't happen every day. Contextualized ads, video ads, I think are very relevant, and it's based on what I gather from it. It's if you've signed into Yahoo and if you've given them demographic data, you're a part of the Yahoo services. So you're using Yahoo Mail, or you're using Yahoo Sports, or the or anything along those lines.
I think the interesting thing here is to see whether or not there becomes a connection between this and Yahoo's local offers platform.
Sure.
Right, the local deal being delivered through this could be interesting as well.
Yeah, and certainly Yahoo has a number of mobile applications, and I think that this really does help that as well, right? So this is maybe the beginning of Yahoo's comeback. Do we call it here?
Hey.
Wow. Here I am. At the beginning of the show, I thought they were out of business, and now I'm thinking this is a comeback.
We've passed the rapture now. So
I was going to say, that's why I'm wearing white. If I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out in white, right? Confess all my sins.
I was dressed for it all day today.
The day of rapture, exactly. I spent all my money today. Now I'm in trouble. Anyway, so this is called Smart Ads, right? This is what this service is called, Smart Ads. Yeah. So Yahoo and Mixpo in a relationship to create Smart Ads, and it's Mixpo's technology, Yahoo's demographics. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Well, sweet. So we had Ford Sync with an allergy alert, and obviously the future of appification of the automobile. Facebook Places update. We've had the Starwood Group teaming up with Foursquare in an exclusive deal for check-ins. Google News Near You finally launching in the States on iPhone and Android. iPhone's interesting, by the way. That's why not just Android to start with? It's a competitive landscape, and Yahoo and Mixpo combining to create smart ads for the Yahoo network and contextualized video banner ads.
And just one thing I'm gonna throw in there, and I know we didn't talk about it, Rob. So, but there was an announcement just the other day as well from Groupon that they've partnered with Looped.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw that one.
I saw it.
The interesting thing about that is Looped is another one of the check-in platforms, one of the original check-in platforms. And I think the interesting thing about that is obviously Groupon has also announced their own location-based real-time deal platform called Groupon Now.
Yeah.
And at the same time they partner with Loop. So Loop being a check-in platform that then when you check in you get deals that are localized coming from Groupon. So the two platforms, the Loop Groupon platform and Groupon's own platform, are both competing in the same market, which is Chicago, is the test market for both of this. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I don't know.
This is one of those things that you're either going to cannibalize your own market or your own product, or you're going to cannibalize your resellers ultimately. And you're either in that business or you're in the business of providing data to somebody else or the service to somebody else. This is going to be a big challenge for Groupon.
I see what Groupon gets. I mean, they get all that location data.
Yeah.
That they didn't have.
And Looped gets a valued partner in this.
They get a valued partner, but is this an overture to a potential Groupon buying Looped?
Could be.
But is it let's date before we get married? I don't know.
Well, I guess nothing speaks better than results, and depending on what happens,
so let's see what happens.
Well, this is so in that context, Asif, it's a very interesting play because depending on the results, if Groupon doesn't buy Looped, for example, then we know that Groupon's own platform is doing much better. The conversion rate is much better than the Looped platform ultimately. That's what it would say to me.
But anyways, it'll be an interesting thing to watch. So, sorry for throwing it in there last minute, but it's
very relevant. It's a Anytime we talk about Groupon, you know, I think that this is a company that that needs to innovate and test the waters on everything, because I see a cliff coming for those guys, and we've talked about this forever. So, you know, should have taken the billions. That's all I'll say. So, I mean, let's keep an eye on this as we go through these, you know, over the next number of episodes and see what happens from this. If it goes quiet, well, we know what happened there. So let's talk a little bit about the week that was in funding. The floodgates open. Is that what we're about to witness here? You know, because of LinkedIn's IPO, that was big.
It's huge. I mean, anytime you're talking about, you know, $8 or $9 billion, depending on what the final number is, or how you want to measure it, you know, the day of or the day after or what have you. I mean, this is huge. This is just massive.
That's the valuation after the IPO, right? When at the
right.
peak of the value of the stock, I think hit $122 a share.
Yeah, they were talking about 8.91 billion is the number I saw.
And the total value of the IPO was $800 or $900 million, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
It's either that they undervalued it, they dogged it a little bit, or there was just so much pent up demand for shares. It's pretty incredible what happened. Is this kind of the equivalent to that Netscape IPO that kind of set the internet world astorm?
Well, one of the funny things is one of the guys who made a lot of money in this particular deal is
Andreessen.
You know, is Andreessen, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, who founded Netscape. So
that guy makes money like opening his left eye. Every morning he's like, I open my left eye. Well, that's $100 million. Nice.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this is huge because this is you know, if you look at that valuation, I mean, it's 24 times the projected revenue for this year.
Yeah.
Right, 24 times.
But you know, the conversation that you're having though is that it's revenue, right?
Yeah, it's revenue.
That's the difference. Is that this is a 10-year-old company with 100 million people that are using the services, and they're actually generating revenue. I think they're close to profitable or break even. So, you know, still 24 times is
yeah, it's a huge number. But anyhow, you know, the thing here is that hopefully now, you know, these guys are there, you know, they've got some capital to work with, and hopefully, you know, they're able to leverage and start to push some interesting B2B location type services out, because the market is definitely hungry. I get asked all the time, you know, Foursquare and all this stuff is great, you know, and the consumer can play with it all they want and get all the deals that they want. But where are the business applications? You know, where's the, you know, check in here and, you know, pushing you, you know, information on who's at this event, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, the simple B2B stuff and all the data that's inside of LinkedIn, you know, marry that up with location and you have mega power.
You know, it's funny, not funny, but it's funny that you mentioned that, because there's an article on GigaOM that came out right after the IPO that said basically who are the companies that are ripe for LinkedIn to buy, right? Because that's really what this is about. They've raised this money. Now they've got to augment. They've proven that their technology is sound. They've proven that they've rolled out the right services, you know, around the premium offerings or the jobs or the groups. But now it's about what service that they're not offering should they be going out there and spending some cash on and acquiring. And so there's an article on GigaOM, gigaom.com that kind of goes into the details there. But it just makes sense. It makes sense that these guys now have to round out their service offering.
Yeah, no, you know, and one that jumps to mind for me would be somebody like an Eventbrite.
Yeah. Well, now that, I mean, but Eventbrite just raised, what, $30 million?
I know, but something like that, like an event, you know.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, how about Ticketmaster? Because Eventbrite is kicking its ass, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, so, but you see that kind of stuff makes absolute sense. Complementary technology to what they're doing. And Eventbrite, not only from a ticketing and a management side, but also from a check-in. Who's going to be the location check-in service?
Right.
But you know, that's great for LinkedIn. You know, I ask this a lot. Do you think that what we're witnessing here is the beginning of this? This is like a percolating bubble that we're seeing, or are there sound fundamentals here that there weren't 10 years ago or 12 years ago with the Netscape IPO? Do you know? Like, do you get a sense of what it is, what people are talking about?
there's a definite buzz out there that I think capitals is flowing again.
Yes.
And sitting up here in Canada, it's interesting because we're always struggling to get our companies funded, and yet the number of deals that are happening up here has accelerated so much in the last few months. It just tells me that this I think it's more than a bubble. I think there's optimism. There's location. I don't want to say location is the only thing driving it, but it's definitely one of the things that's on the tip of everybody's tongue in a lot high number of the deals that are going on out there. And so I definitely think that the fundamentals are there. I think we're past that point now where in the first bubbles where you could write a business plan and here's $5 million. I think the entrepreneur now knows that they've got to have a product, they've got to have a beta, they got to have something they can demonstrate, they got to have a few customers, and they got to get all there on their own before any capital comes in. And I think that's been understood now for a little while. We went through the recession, and now we're coming out of it with seasoned entrepreneurs, let's call it, that get it, and the capital is starting to come behind them.
Well, I hope that's right, and I really think that there's a ton of companies that are poised here, but we're also seeing this consolidation, which is the next thing that we're going to talk about, which is as we've talked about many times before, we talk about this consolidation that has to happen. And Amistar Ventures just acquired a company that we never heard of, because I think there's about 1 billion of these companies that are out there that do location-aware stuff, which is wantandfound.com. So Amistar picked these guys up, and this is just par for the course when it comes to this industry, is that there's got to be a lot of consolidation, and you've got to build a good business around it. And Amistar seems to me like they've got a number of companies in their stable that fit this, that Want and Found would be very complementary. So is this a roll-up for a bigger play?
Yeah, that's how I saw it. It's so Want and Found is another local deal platform based in Austin. And Austin's, we've talked about Austin a lot. There's a lot of these little startups that are trying various things. Some of them are deal platforms, some of them are check-in platforms, some of them are location-based gaming things. We talked about Crank and guys like that as well, Ricochet Labs.
Yep.
So there's a lot of these little groups, and I think that absolutely, I think we're in that time now, not just on big acquisitions like eBay and Where, but I think there's a lot of little. Last week we talked about one too, right? Another local deal site buying a little Chicago company. So I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see consolidation, especially on the local deal side. You're going to see a lot of consolidation to acquire geographic territory, to acquire markets.
So this is it's a user grab ultimately, right?
It's a user grab.
A lot of these guys only roll out in a couple of cities or one city,
right?
And so this is just a good way to basically you walk in there and own that city ultimately if you have got enough.
Yeah, if you're a wannabe entrepreneur,
yep, right
now, in Kansas or something. Go start up a local deal site and get it to a couple 100,000 users, and someone's going to take you out.
Yeah.
You're not going to be Mark Andreessen, but hey, you might make 200 or 300 grand.
But on Andreessen, I interviewed the guys from Kick, which is a streaming video service, and. Interesting enough, this is something that I did last week, and Bhaskar Roy is the guy's name. He's the co-founder of Kick, and he sold in January to Skype, and Andreessen was an investor in the company. And then what happened with Skype? Skype was picked up by Microsoft last week, or 10 days ago. So I just think Andreessen opened his, just barely cracked an eye that day and made hundreds of millions of dollars. So big fan of Andreessen, love the guy. Now this company that bought Want and Found, Amistar, the reason we think it's a good roll up is because they have a great portfolio of companies, which includes like a bunch of things like Globotext, and Deal Fanatic, Nine Buys, Higher Serve, Socrates, favorite Med5, like all these seem to be around that location buying or really focused.
They definitely have a portfolio.
Yeah,
there's no question.
So no details on it.
No, they didn't disclose any dollar amounts or anything like that. So
that usually indicates, a good 5-figure deal. Just joking. Maybe, hopefully a little bit more than that. So that's Ambistar buying Want and Found. So LinkedIn's IPO, big news last week. Ambistar buying Want and Found, smaller deal. Let's talk about the product.
Product of the week is called Ed Rover.
Not to be confused with Red Rover.
Right.
Yes.
Totally different.
Yes.
Totally different thing. So this is another check-in platform, but it's a check-in platform with a cause. And so the whole point of this is that this is about fundraising. This is about local fundraising. This is about the parent who tries to help their kids sell cookies and chocolate and whatever it is that they do to raise funds for the local school or the local hockey team or the local whatever. And so what effectively this is local merchants who ordinarily would contribute to whatever the cause is, in the city, in the town, in the whatever, can sign up to be merchants on the Ed Rover system. And then consumers, parents and others, can go to these merchants, check in, and automatically, whatever the discount is off of the purchase of the good that happens in that store, whatever the contribution is allocated to a fund and transferred on. So a check-in platform with a cause.
I like it, and it's really simple. You don't even have to buy anything in some of these stores. You just have to check into some of the stores. Just
check in and then make a donation. Hey, I like it.
God, I love that, and I like that. But this is one of those things that I think that Facebook deals is going to crush.
Yes.
Like, no offense, but I mean, Facebook deals, they have that donation or the charitable donation piece to it. But it's like once they get their act together, Ed Rover becomes a pretty niche spot. But it's like Facebook deals is going to steamroll something like this.
Yeah, it does. I agree with you, but I think it's going to take some time for Facebook to get there. As we talked about earlier. I mean, one of the things about donations and systems like that, getting the merchant on board historically has always been, whoever that super mom is in the community, right, that goes out and says, that local grocer, I know him, I shop there all the time. I'm going to work it out, and we're going to get that arrangement with that store, and that's that. Now, getting that local grocer onto Facebook and setting up their Facebook page and all that kind of stuff, who's doing that work?
Yeah. But you know what? You're right, and it's but the simplicity of the Facebook places, like if I was trying,
no question. I'm just saying, like that. There's a hurdle there to get over.
Yeah, I think it's it's funny because you bring up that hurdle, and I think the hurdle is the this check-in economy, and we're only talking about early adopters at this point. So we've seen it with Starwood and the mixed demographic about going after the Foursquare user, and when their preferred Starwood preferred group is a little bit older, and it's the same thing when you start to talk about that young demographic who aren't checking in, right?
Right.
The 18-year-olds are not checking in, right? The guys in school, the 13 to 17-year-olds are not checking in.
This is one way you can get them.
Yeah. But it's also about security and I don't know if parents want this. This is a whole issue where you kind of, when you bring this into the school like Ed Rover does, where it's about charitable donations, is that again you're going against the stream, kind of, right? So like the 15-year-old is not using an iPhone and checking into a location,
right? So
like it's I think it's a great idea. But the balance, it's a little off right now because the demographics don't support it, and there's only so many people that you can attract to a different platform. I like the concept, I just think that there's got to be a little bit more thought into this, and
Yeah, and by the way, it's not the only one that's in this space. I mean, there's CauseWorld and others, right? So
yeah, and what we talked about one. It escapes me now, but it was about checking in and getting contributions to your education, to your fund, right? So
right. That was the one that Fannie Mae put out.
Right, and that really, I gravitated towards that really clearly because
so that was targeting the college kids.
Yeah,
but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so good luck for Ed Rover. I like the spunk, and you're right. It is a mom that's out there doing this because she cares about it, and certainly it's a localized, it's a local thing as well. So Ed Rover, edrover.com. God love him. Ed Rover, Red Rover. I love it. I get the Ed part though. So that comes to our resource this week, which is ComScore's what is it? MobileLens research. So
ComScore, great company in terms of putting out research on mobile stats and usage. So out of their MobileLens product comes one of the first check-in reports I've seen come out of these guys. And it's significant. So first off, we'll grab kind of the key findings of this, and we'll publish it to the LBMA research part of the website in time for this podcast to be published on Monday. But some of the key findings out of this are really interesting. So they talk about 7.1% of the entire U.S. mobile phone population uses location check-in services. So if we contrast that to kind of the Pew research that we saw earlier that talked about 4%, late last year, if we use this as, okay, so this is end of March of this year. If they're saying now that's gone from 4% to just over 7%, that's significant. But I think the more interesting number that comes out of this study is they say 1 in 5 smartphone users checks in. 1 in 5 smartphone users checks in, so almost like 20%. Like it's actually 18% they talk about.
Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah. At least these numbers are they in line? Because Pew actually did they come out with another study, or did somebody else come out with another study around the same time as the Pew report that said it was maybe 6 to 8%?
Yes, yeah. There was a follow-up study that said 6 to 8. So I think this kind of matches that in a sense. But I think what's interesting about it is obviously ComScore has access to a lot of other data that Pew may not. So to be able to break that down and say now it's 1 in 5 smartphones versus the total mobile phone.
I think that makes a big difference.
It does make a big difference,
clearly, and one of the stats, this was a striking stat. We talked about this before. Was that it's almost parity now between men and women checking in.
Yes.
I think actually women are a little bit ahead of men checking in. And it's just in stark contrast because I don't know many women who are in this space or carry a device that actually check in. I know many men, and if you look through your Twitter stream or your Facebook stream, you'll probably, correct me if I'm wrong for you, but for me, I'm not seeing any women check in at any point ever.
Yeah, I see a lot. So
you do, eh?
Maybe we have different followers from that perspective. But yeah, I mean, I think I can see the numbers being pretty even. Yeah, absolutely. So I don't dispute this research at all. I mean, it's talking about 52% versus 48% on total mobile. They're talking about 50.8% female, 49.2%. So it's virtually even.
Yeah.
Female to male percentage of check-in. So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Well, it's funny because we both know Amber MacArthur, who is a social media queen. She wrote a book called Power Friending and a TV show on BNN, and she does a podcast with on the Twit Network. She wrote an article on May 20th in the Globe and Mail. We'll include a link, obviously, to this in the show notes that says, why do women avoid check-in services? And this is an interesting take because she is active in this community. She's a keynote speaker. She preaches this stuff, and she says, look, you know what? There's a barrier here that I don't cross, and that's checking in. And it's just an interesting take because she she's right in the middle of this and doesn't participate, and I think that that's a pretty strong statement about this. But it's kind of an overview. It's saying, why do women avoid check-in services just in general? And it kind of flies against the research that Comscore did about the split of checking in. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'd love to have that debate with Amber at some point, because I think that it's one thing to make that conscious decision.
Yeah.
That I'm not going to check in on Foursquare, or I'm not going to share my location specifically there. But given what Amber does, in terms of her social media life, yep, on Twitter and the blogging and other things that she does, I'm sure that some of those platforms she's using to create those blogs and to do other things are tracking location.
Oh yeah,
right. And
I agree.
It's so you can choose to control it in certain aspects. In other aspects, you have no control whatsoever.
Yeah, what she references is that 17.6% of smartphone owners in the U.S. use location-based services. But what she's saying is that there's another study that came out from eMarketer that said 77% of women are freaked out by using tools such as Foursquare, and in particular because of stalking issues. So she recognizes that there's 20%, that 20% from Comscore that says, listen, those are the people that are doing it. But if you ask the average person on the street, would anybody check in using Foursquare? 77% of the women say, are you insane? I'm worried about stalkers.
Yeah, you know what, and I obviously get asked this a lot on when I'm speaking or on panels as well. You know, and I think at the end of the day, again, and I said earlier tonight, is value and relevance, right? Yes. And at the end of the day, we're starting to see more check-in platforms that are dedicated to women. We talked about Red Rover, last week, or targeting to women. We're starting to see deals, jump onto specific platforms like Foursquare, from companies like Jimmy Choo, yep, that are targeted to women. It's about targeting. It's about, give me something that's really relevant to me as a woman, and I'll do it.
You as a woman, I like that. That's a good. I'm going to cut that.
You know what I mean? Like, but that's at the end of the day, we're driven by that value exchange and the relevancy of it.
Wholeheartedly.
And as soon as I see that value is there, I'll do it.
Well, I always say, Asif, that everybody has a price. Every single person has a price, and whatever that may be, it might be simple as a $1 off your latte or a pair of Jimmy Choos, but there is a price there, and at some point, there's somebody you're going to poke your head up and say, you know what, it's worth my while to give up a little bit of my a little bit about my privacy in order to be able to do this, and it's easy for me to say I'm not really worried about stalking yet. If anybody wants to stalk, it's okay.
Please stalk Rob.
Please stalk me. Well, that's it. I just got buzzed.
There's that website, pleaserobme.com.
Yes, exactly.
Pleaserobme.com. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, so, yeah,
that's exactly what it is. I've set up my stalking site if you want to. All my stuff is up there, all my credentials and everything like that. I just got notification on my great iPhone here that the Yankees did in fact beat the New York Mets tonight 5-3.
There you go.
And the Blue Jays won today. So all in all, a great day. And it was like 30 degrees and sunny in Ottawa. So why not end there? Episode number 26. I have nothing left.
All right.
What about you?
I'm done. I'm good.
So enjoy Amsterdam and the launch on Wednesday. We'll take lots of pictures, lots of video, and we expect a full rundown when we reconvene next week for episode number 27.
Will do.
Asif, have a safe flight, safe trip. Get there and back in one piece. Day of rapture is over. Now go and pay back your credit card bills, because you have to do that.
Absolutely.
For those of you who are still watching this or listening to this, as always, very much appreciate your attention. Thank you so much. It means the world to us. Give us some more feedback, untether@gmail.com, or now you can see this is obviously posted at thelbma.com. Either one is fine, but give us some feedback and let us know what you want to hear, what you want to see about the in the program, and we will endeavor to bring it in and talk about what you want to talk about. Until next week, Asif. See ya. Have a great one.
See ya. Cheers.